quick break. I just want to say thank you for all the people around the world, Jamaica, Germany, Asia, Europe, South America. Thank you for listening to Leap of Health. Thank you for the support. And remember, my book is out. You can find it on Barnes& and Nobles and Amazon. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teachers. Thank you again for all the support. And now back to our episode. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Alex Belgood, and this is Leap of Health. And today I am super excited to have Lisa Mazur here. She's actually part of our 10-part series that we're doing now. It's Healing Through Cultivating Art. I thought that topic was just essential in our modern life now. And I'm super, super excited to have you today here, Lisa. She is a designer and an artist, but let's have you talk about you. And before we start going into the whole art and how we can cultivate it and why it's important, tell us a little bit about yourself and how do you get to this place now?
Okay, well, hi. First of all, I want to thank you for having me on. This is great. I'm currently living in California, which I've been for the last 8 years. And I went to school specifically to study art, but then I graduated to be in graphic design. And I thought that was a good sort of in between thing to do that was, I could earn a good living and do art as a business. And it was great. It's been great. I still do it. I still have a graphic design business. But art making in itself has always been extremely important to me. And I would say that up until maybe 2 years ago, I did get a little away from it for a while. And I think the interesting thing about, the ups and downs of having a global pandemic and things slowing down, it really enabled me to get back to that and have the time and really give myself the space and permission to create art again. And it's just been so fun to have that as a constant in my life now. And it's just so fun to see. It's sort of like what comes out of somebody when you let yourself have that creative expression and kind of permission to just like do it. So that's been really eye-opening for me. And even it's funny because some of my really longtime friends were like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were an artist." And I was like, that is such a funny thing because I've always loved art and I've created, but it's never been specifically like right now I've been focusing on creating paintings and I use watercolor on paper. And the reason I kind of chose that initially, it was like that's what I had. I had a supply of watercolors and paper and I just went with it. But I've really enjoyed exploring them. Watercolor inks specifically because they're so organic when you work with them. Like you can really just kind of put water down on the paper and there's just like color spreads in this very magical way, and then it dries and it sort of becomes something totally, kind of even a little different. And it's always surprising, and the depth of color is just super special. So it's been fun.
I love that. And I will definitely put your website because I feel like all the paintings that you've been putting out and all the things that you've been.
For some reason, I can't hear your vocals. Oh, looks like you're okay. Mic is off, maybe. Your mic is showing a red symbol with an arrow through it.
There
Okay.
it is.
Does
Can you
that?
hear me
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, but it's very dim, like low.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
Yay!
Okay. Okay.
This is a technology for you, for
Yeah.
all of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was saying that I love everything that you're doing. I think it's amazing. I think watercolor is probably one of those parts of art that a lot of people think like is it there for little kids or it's not that cool to do. But I think
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
amazing, and you can create a lot of really cool stuff. When did you realize you doing art and all that help you in your journey as a
Mhm.
person?
Um, I think when I was young, it was always something that I gravitated towards. Like I would say, even from the time I was like 6, 7 years old, I always was creating art. And again, it would be like, okay, we had a craft room in our basement. It was sort of like filled with stuff. And I would just kind of go down there and make things, whether it was like paintings or I don't know, little sculptures out of cardboard or whatever. But it was always something that just always brought me so much joy and I guess calmness. And I think at the time, I mean, now I look at it as very meditative, but at the time when I was 6, I had no idea what that meant. But yeah, it was just such a grounding experience to create art.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, uh, there's I think it just would like for everybody, if you consider yourself an artist or not, which, I think everybody is creative and everybody is an artist. Just the act of creating using your hands and body and your mind and your eyes to create something, it just kind of puts you in a different space, and it's almost like, to me, it's like it touches your soul. That's how it feels to me in a lot of ways. Um, and I would say even the experience of um, seeing art, other people's art, can put you in that space as well. It's pretty amazing, It doesn't have to be a moving thing. I mean, there's beautiful moving installations of art as well, which are incredible to experience. But even just like looking at a painting and experiencing the color and the brush strokes, and yeah, to me it
No,
just changes your mind.
yeah, for sure. I think I always, I'm always thinking about like, people should like dance and do art and paint
Mm-hmm.
and all this because that's kind of like how I grew up, just like you doing things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just what you just said is it's also super important. I think, you know, watching a film, reading a book, looking at a painting, I think it could be something very magical and all that too.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a spectator and experiencing art that way, I
Yep.
think that that's also really cool. And I think we all in some sort of or in our own ways we get moved by all this art like that. And we don't really think about it like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm being moved by this painting. Just sometimes you sort of like look at something, a billboard or a painting or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, and you're like, oh, that was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, our society doesn't really put a lot of value on that aspect of it. And it is funny because I think being an artist, um, a lot of people's perception of having that as something that you do as, your career, it kind of, I don't know. I do think there's a lot of, oh, well, that's nice that you can do that, but it's not realistic in a way because it's I guess it, to me, it doesn't feel like a lot of people take it as a serious aspect, a value of society in our lives. I do think it's changing because I do think there's more and more research being done about the effects, especially like with art therapy, um, and the the way that it can really help to heal people with
Mm-hmm.
depression, kind of trauma, and just creating art through a therapist has been shown to have really amazing effects. And I
Mm-hmm.
was even reading something recently about how people in hospitals, if they're surrounded by, not even, maybe there's a nice painting or something on the wall in a hospital room, it actually brings down people's pain levels, like if they're experiencing pain.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? It's just like really it affects your brain. And if, I mean, maybe not your brain, but maybe just your whole body.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean that's cool that they're doing research on visual art, but I mean we've known music always,
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that. You play a song and it gets you in all these feelings, whether it's like romantic feelings, happy feelings, all the feelings,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how sound is used also for healing too.
Right.
And
Right.
and I think art is just like so amazing because without even like having that thought of like, okay, well, I'm gonna use art or this type of art to like for some healing purposes. We just do things and
Mm-hmm.
automatically changes our mood or
Right.
health. You know,
Right.
I love that you touch on there are certain things that they do for like therapy and trauma. And I feel like dancing, even if
Mm-hmm.
you're not a professional dancer, it could also be a form of release and
Right.
to work on whatever you're going through. So I think it's just so amazing. And you're totally right. I feel like we have not given the value that it almost deserves because art is just so amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I think little by little I guess now we are going back to it. Now a lot of people are doing NFTs and all these sort of
Mm-hmm.
online art and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But I
Right.
think seeing art just as overall, it could be a job. I think that also too, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't think that could be like you could be an artist and you could be making good money. Like if you were an
Mm-hmm.
accountant or a doctor or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that. How important do you think it's art in everybody's lives?
Um, well, I mean, my opinion is it's extremely important. And I do think that I wish everybody would create the things that always kind of strikes me is like when people say, "Oh, I'm not an artist. I'm not really good at art." But I always think like people who are not like trained artists sometimes make the best art too, because it's
Yes.
just art that is so honest and I guess unaffected in a way. Some,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times. And it's like I think if you again allow yourself to have that freedom and just draw or don't like, oh, I don't want to, you don't need to draw a car exactly the same way like a car actually looks. Like just see what kind of comes out. And sometimes those are the best pieces of art in my opinion. It's the non-trained artist.
Yeah, for sure.
There was still a lot of art in school because I went to public school.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt lucky because every week or maybe once or twice a week we had art class all throughout elementary school. And I mean, I there's not a lot of funding now, and it feels like art always kind of is the first thing to get cut.
Hmm.
And to me, that's such a shame because I think kids really can benefit from that.
Yeah.
Um, as we were talking about, it's just a way to kind of get centered and have sort of, express yourself emotionally. And I think kids, especially now, really need that.
Yeah, I think art it's such a way to release, experience, transform. It could like really make someone, um, through like singing and acting
Mm-hmm.
and drawing. And as you say, you don't have to be like, oh, I want to be an artist or I want to be like a professional painter or whatever. But I think just the fact that people are creating things, that almost gives us like in our minds and ourselves, those possibilities of
Mm-hmm.
doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Yeah,
What
it's like
will
you explore like other areas that maybe you usually wouldn't, I think, through art,
exactly?
right? It kind of opens those possibilities up.
I think so. What will you say to all those people that are afraid or like they're like, no, I don't do that. That's kind of silly. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
draw anything. Or like, I
Mm-hmm.
like I always go to the example of I like my accounting job. And I
Right,
just want to
right,
do this. What
right,
will you
right.
say to them? Like, what are they missing out? What they should do if they want to try to cultivate some sort of art with themselves. It doesn't have to be like all professional or anything.
In case the
You
audio,
there?
okay, the audio is there. Okay. So what would I say to people who are, I would say don't be afraid. I mean, because nothing's like just do it. And um I think a lot of people get caught up in like, oh my God, I'm gonna look stupid because I can't draw like a person's face, or I don't know, or I can't. My drawings look like they're from like an infant or something. So I would just say like, just go into the joy of creating and let yourself have that freedom
Mm-hmm.
and see what comes out. And even if, I mean, it's funny because that's how I started again, like when I really brought myself back to creating art. I had to actually, because after being a designer for so long, and it's like, it's all about kind of like making things kind of, there's like these little perfect packages.
Mm-hmm.
So I was finding that I was getting a little stuck in the beginning when I started painting again. And I was like, okay, what if I just think this this is not, this does not have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to look like anything. It's more
Mm-hmm.
just the experience of putting paint on paper and you know using colors that speak to you, and that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And see where it takes you. I mean, and maybe it's just a bunch of color on paper, but how amazingly beautiful can that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people get caught up in, oh, I'm not a good artist because I don't know how to draw a flower, or it doesn't look like, you know I'm not as good as this person or that. But I mean, really, art making can be anything, right? I mean, I'm talking about visual arts, I guess. I mean, but you yourself as a dancer and artist, there's so many different forms that can kind of speak to different people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dancing is. I mean, not a. I would say I'm not a good dancer, but it is super fun. It's like when you just kind of go with it, and it's like the same thing with creating visual art, I think, too.
Yeah.
It's like you got to get over the fact like, oh, I look really ridiculous doing this. Like, and then because as soon as you have that self-consciousness. You're not connected to yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah, for
that
sure.
would
I
be
think
my
even
advice.
like with dancing, I tell all my students like no one really cares. Everybody's kind of like afraid of dancing
Right.
anyways. So if you're
Right.
the only one out there in the dance floor, you're gonna be fantastic. That's one of
Right.
those, is just, do what feels good. Because I think
Yeah, yeah.
that's like a really, really good point that you made. Maybe dancing is not for everybody, but have a like reading or
Hmm.
painting or,
Hmm.
molding like a little sculpture,
Hmm.
whatever it is. I think that's just so great to just experience life in, as you mentioned, in different ways that otherwise you wouldn't not know how great you are making, I don't know, baby elephants, or
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
doing the samba. I don't know, maybe like you are super gifted doing all these things, but you have never tried.
Right.
So I
Right.
think, yeah, I think definitely going out there and do things that make you feel good. You know,
Yes.
I
Right.
think
Even if
that's
they feel scary at first. But I mean, that's the thing about art making is it's not, there's nothing that can really hurt you when you're like, there's no danger in it, right? Other than your
exactly.
own mind, right? So that's why it's a good practice, I think, also for people to sort of like explore that uncomfortableness and be like, wait, the reality is nothing is bad that's going to happen if I take
Hmm.
out a piece of paper and put some paint on it, or and I draw something, or dance even.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's such there's just so many opportunities to create such joy for yourself through these mediums, through art. And I
Yeah.
think that's the gift that we need to really always embrace with art, no matter what form it comes in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think art has healed you in some way, maybe emotionally or physically?
Um, yeah, I do. I mean, I really feel like art is uh really a meditation for me, and it's like, especially if when I give myself the time to do it. And I mean, I can do things, I like to have I have a table that I always have my paints and paper out, and sometimes I'm sort of walking by it and I'll stop and I'll like just paint a little during the day. And um but there's also times when I really give myself a couple hours or so to see what I and it's not like I have a plan a lot of times. Sometimes
Hmm.
the best thing is being like, you know what, I'm gonna have four pieces of paper out, and I'm just gonna see what comes. Like, I'm not like, oh, I do a lot of floral art,
Hmm.
flowers and things like that. And sometimes I'm just like, well, what if giving myself no parameters, what happens? And it's so
Hmm.
super fun. Like, a lot of stuff that comes out is just like, oh, I that's very different than my planned pieces.
Hmm.
I took a couple classes with Sarah Rossiter, who you
Yes.
may know. So she's an artist and a psychic, and she was doing what was she calling it? It was like a couple hours, and it was sort of
Intuitive
just
art or something.
yeah, yeah. So it was pretty much like just come, and we did it all on Zoom, there would be like 4 or 5 people, and it was just free flow art in a way. And some of the pieces that I created, I was like, oh, yeah, again, like things that were on a different level than I would even normally do, which was really fun to create.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I mean, I think a lot of people feel like they also don't have time
Mm,
for art.
yeah.
So I think just people giving themselves again the permission to sort of calm themselves down and sit and create. And I just, I mean, for myself, it's just has such a valuable impact on my life.
Yeah, I know for sure. I think instead of like scrolling for 20 minutes,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
we
Like, how
should.
much time do we? I mean, I know myself, believe me. I've spent like all of a sudden I would be like, oh my, wait, that was a half hour I
Yeah,
just spent scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And yeah, so the amount, like, kind of, yeah, dedicating time to creating, like, what
yeah,
could happen, like what magic can happen for you.
yeah. To do something else besides scrolling, I think it will be just great no matter what you do.
Exactly.
Whether it's like, sometimes people don't have time to go to the gym or to
Hmm.
read a book or whatever,
Hmm.
play some music, just
Hmm.
do some moves. You don't have to take a class, just move a little bit, see what you
Yeah.
feel, see how that of art is giving you,
Hmm.
get a piece of paper, draw a little
Right.
bit, maybe I don't know, draw whatever your dog,
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah.
is,
Right. Doodle.
as
It doesn't
yeah,
matter, right? You can
yeah.
doodle.
I mean,
Doodles are
because
fun too, because you sort of
exactly.
zone out and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this really interesting page that I just created. What is this?
Yeah, and I mean the greatest artists in the world. If you look at their biggest painting, I mean, what's the name of the famous artist? Isn't it Pollock? The painted
Oh, Jackson
sticks.
Pollock. Yep. Where
Jackson
he
Pollock.
sweats. Right. Yep.
I mean, you know, little bodies with sticks and circles and whatever.
Hmm.
And they're, I mean, I'm not saying you might become that. Who knows? You might, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
do
exactly.
anything that feels cool besides
Hmm.
scrolling. I think we've been in this technology and our eyes and our ears and everything are so captured in our cell phones all day long.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yep.
what about if we take a little break of that, make a little piece
Yep.
of art or do something, sculpture or just play the radio
Hmm.
and sing? Who knows? Maybe
Right.
after that, you can do a little video for your Instagram. I don't
Hmm.
know. Just mix it up. But I think it's just so great. I really love your statement of
Okay, my dog. Okay,
no
there she
worries.
is. Okay.
But yes, I mean, like experiencing art in any ways, I think is just like so great. And let's probably scroll less and start making more, create something, and if
Right,
you have
right.
kids or a family, why not make a family night and do something
Hmm.
fun with just like
Hmm.
creating things? I think that's just so cool. And for people that have never done it, believe me, it really, I think it shapes you in different way. It opens your eye to like a lot more things that we can create. I mean, we're creators of our own lives. We can create
Hmm.
anything we want, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially for kids, again, like, because young kids have grown up with this technology that is so, basically all consuming. It can be all consuming
Yeah.
and, eats up hours of free time. So it's a good exercise, I think, for kids and everybody. But I mean, my worry is that kids are sort of going to lose, um, I guess, the interest and, um, I guess, the interest and desire to
Mhm.
create, because the cell phones and social media and everything it's so addicting, and it's really hard to pull yourself away sometimes. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think also too, I feel like this technology makes everything so easy.
mm,
Like, and it's great. Like like kids now can make little movies of their
Right.
own
Yeah,
pictures
isn't that cool? Yeah.
and whatever. It's that's a dream for
Right.
all of
Yeah.
us that loved art and wanted to do that when we were
Yeah.
little. I did. It's great and it's fabulous. But I
Mm-hmm.
think in order for our new generations to come up with like more amazing things, I think um almost like going back to basics,
Mm-hmm.
it brings you um a different way to see life, a different way to make art and create things, and just give you that little push to get yourself out there. I think that's what art gives you different tools
Mm-hmm.
for life in general, I think.
Right, right. What is for yourself, what is your favorite form of art, and how does it affect your life?
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, me as you, I've been doing art for a long, long time since I was like very little too. I've been painting the longest.
Mm,
I've been painting, I think, same like just color and art, and these, even just the smell of painting, it brings something in me that is just so great. Like when I'm feeling down or feeling really happy, um, just creating something, like I feel like after I'm done making whatever it is, whether it look great or not, it just makes me feel a lot better.
mm-hmm. Yep.
It's almost like that way of express some things that in sometimes we don't have the tools, so we don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
convey to others. I think art and especially painting for me has been like really great since I was a
Mm-hmm.
very young individual. And now that I'm a dancer and I've been dancing for a long, long time too, um, it reminded me when you said it's a form of meditation. I think when I dance is the only time that I am in that moment. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think about anything else. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people describes meditation as being in the moment and not thinking of anything. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I think once you're dancing and you're hearing the music and you're dancing, connecting with others and just having so much fun, it's just like there's nothing else. There's not yesterday, there's no work, there's no
Mm-hmm.
worries, there's no, you know, nothing
Mm-hmm.
bad. It's in that moment. It's just
Right.
you in
Right.
the dance. And so I think it's just that I feel like that's when people are like, oh no, I've never danced, or like I'm not good at it or whatever. I'm like, how
Mm-hmm.
can you breathe?
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
that's that's just to me. Obviously, I've done it for such a long time, and I think it's just a big part of my life. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel that, you know, we're all creators, as you mentioned, and I think we can all do that. I mean, I started dancing, like to be a dancer, I started old, and I started when I was 18, and
Mm-hmm.
then you know, I practiced and I became a professional dancer, and I competed and I taught classes around the world, and I did shows around the world. So I think for anybody that might say like I'm old to this, I'm like, no, believe me, I've seen older people doing shows and big stages,
Right, right.
and it's
Yeah.
just that joy. I think it's not even how skilled you could be, but how
Mm-hmm.
much joy you can bring to others, I think.
Right, right. And I think I like talking about not being too old to do things, because there's so
Yes.
many examples. Like there's a artist, her name is Lisa Condon, and she started uh, art when she was, I think, in her 30s, and she really became like a well-known artist, like, as she approached her 40s, and she has an amazing body of work. It's just so full of energy, and it's just so creative and awesome. But she has said, like, she wasn't an artist before. She didn't go to art school or anything. So yeah, so follow your dreams, right? Follow what feels good, and um yeah, I don't know. It's just life's a cool journey, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
art is like, I mean, I don't know, it's such a profound part of it.
Yeah.
And art is everywhere, and people create, even if you don't consider yourself an artist, you are creating art. You're creating every day
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point because if you really think about it, everybody has an Instagram now or Facebook or something.
Right,
You're
right.
always putting something out there, whether it's a picture of
Yeah.
a sunset
Mm-hmm.
or your food or your dog
Yeah, right.
or
Yeah.
anything. We're like always creating something
Right.
for to
Right.
show
Yeah, we
others.
are all profound creators
Yes. Yeah.
and I guess even, if you're in jobs that are you feel are super uncreative but I don't know. I mean, it does seem to me that everybody always has that inkling deep down in themselves of wanting to create something. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, there's millions of different things you can create, but deep down, we all are. So I just find that to me, happiness comes with creating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Drop the mic right there. I think I think that's just like the perfect statement to leave you guys with. I think we're all creators and we're creating all the time, whether you're a doctor or an accountant or whatever it is that you're doing. I think we're all creating all the time. And whether you have acknowledged it or noticed it or not, um, art is in every form all around you. And I think it's just so important to give it a chance and to give it a try and see what we what we can come up with. It's just like
Yes.
so cool. So go art.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes. I like that. I like that as the final statement too. That's great.
uh, Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for sharing today. I think this is great. I think, um, for everybody listening out there, you could do so many things out there. If you would like to see Lisa's art, I will definitely put her links on the show notes because she's creating all these amazing things that you can buy. And if you want to hang them on your house and whatever, they are amazing. My
Oh,
mom
thank
loves
you.
them.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I showed them
That's
to
nice
her,
to
and she's
hear.
like,
I love it.
"That was really cool." I'm like, "Those flowers are amazing." So definitely, I will put in the show notes your link of
Thank you
your
so
page.
much.
Yeah, so they can check out your art. You are such an amazing designer and artist. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. If you need to know any more about my show and all of our artists that we've been having, go to my website, alexballgood.com. You could follow me on all social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere out there. If you have any questions, DM me. Don't forget, my book is out. You can buy it on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon. It's called Parents Are Greatest Teacher. It's a great read. Also, if you have any questions on that, DM me. I also have here and there sales, so please do DM me if you're interested. Thank you, everyone, for listening today. And thank you, Lisa, for being here today. Have a blessed
Oh,
day,
thank you
everyone.
so much. It was an
Thank you.
honor.